is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show. Your war room for insider news and draft analysis from deep within the confines of Cowboys headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
And now, your host, Kyle Yeomans.
Today is Tuesday, April 8th, 2025, and we are 16 days away from the NFL Draft in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Welcome into the Draft Show presented by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. It's Miller time. Alongside Nick Harris, Brian Broaddus, Tommy Yarish, Voch Lombardi, with Jasmine Marshall running everything in the back. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Glad you're with us. All right, gentlemen, we're just over 2 weeks out. 30 visits are now in the rearview mirror. There's been a lot of reported names kind of circling around Cowboys camp and who they've been talking to. Brian, let's get right into it. What does the list and some of the names mean to you?
Well, you know, the 30 visits are always important because this is really the first opportunity for Jerry and Steven. They do go to the combine. They do see the workouts. They are a part of all that, but they're not part of all the interviews and stuff like that. So the 30 visits are the opportunity for Jerry and Steven to kind of sit down with these kids and have a little bit of an understanding of maybe what makes them tick. One of my favorite things is when these kids get pictures with Jerry in his office. I think that's the neatest thing in the world. And whether they get selected here or not, it's something they'll always remember. Just having a few moments with him is always something kind of fun. But, yeah, it's a good opportunity. And then it also allows them to kind of maybe go into a little more in depth. You know, at the combine, you have a limited amount of time that you could talk to these people. And maybe you want to put them on the board. Maybe you want to put them in a group setting. You know, maybe you want to have some of your own players meet with them, you know, with Dak Prescott and others to come over and say hello and get an opportunity. So it's still about fact finding, and it's just done more on a personal level. And so, you know, those things are always important because when it comes down to it, the familiarity that Jerry and Steven have with these players, I think goes a long way to seeing who gets drafted.
What do you think, Nick, just based off of the names that you've seen out there?
Yeah, we can run through the names just really quick. 15 of the 30 have been reported. We can go with Ohio State running back Travion Henderson, Ohio State receiver Emeka Egbuka, Ohio State running back Quinshon Judkins, Texas offensive lineman Kelvin Banks, Texas defensive tackle Alfred Collins, Texas safety Andrew Makuba, Virginia Tech running back Bashil Tutton, Ole Miss defensive tackle Walter Nolan, Texas A&M defensive end Shamar Stewart, Tennessee defensive end James Pierce Jr., Missouri wide receiver Luther Burden III, East Carolina corner Savon Revel, which I've learned. Savon, courtesy of Tommy across from me. It's Savon, very, very strange. Arizona offensive lineman Jonas Savanaia, Arizona wide receiver Tedoroa McMillan, and North Carolina running back Omarion Hampton. But yeah, from the names, I mean, you're looking at the Cowboys taking a look at multiple different positions in these first couple of rounds. Like all of those guys that I mentioned are guys you would take on either day one or day two. Yeah. And the majority are first round type options. I mean, you look at Shamar Stewart. I mean, I don't think that's going to be a guy that's there at 44. You look at Omarion Hampton. That's probably not a guy that's there at 44. Ashton Jeanty was one of the Dallas Day guys that they brought in. That's not going to be a guy that's there at 44. And then there's a lot of second round options. You know, Travion Henderson. Is Emeka Egbuka going to slide? You know, is that a guy you would hope would be there? Tutton is going to be there in round 2 or round 3. Savon Revel, that's another guy we've talked a lot about. They're keeping their options open as far as position groups on these first 2 days. And I think they're just going to kind of pick how the board falls. And, you know, Schottenheimer talked about it at league meetings last week in Florida. He's like, we are trying to set ourselves up in a position where we can take the best player available. And, you know, they're looking at multiple different position groups. And, you know, that would make sense to a certain extent because I think on the first 2 days, they have to come away with a receiver and a corner, nevertheless. But the board might fall that way.
But I'll say this, though, right? What about that safety? Like that's that one blinking light that's just on there. Like we've been talking about running backs for months. Yeah. Wide receivers, one techs, you know, linebacker. You know, what that one safety mean? You know, what's he doing there?
And is there other safeties?
What's Andrew Makuba doing?
And is there other safeties that we don't know about that they're potentially looking at too.
Yeah.
Maybe some guys that they brought in, it was like 15 other names potentially that they could have brought in. And maybe there's other safeties there. I think it's a fascinating question.
Having 5 running backs mean, all right, y'all, we're in the running back business.
Yeah.
Whether it's early or whether
They
it's
were last
late.
year too.
Yeah.
They loved a lot of us, Nick. You ain't
They
lying.
did.
But look, that means we're in the running back business. We're in the wide receiver business, but they may not be in the safety business, but they're in the Andrew Makuba business.
Yeah.
What that mean? So now I just want to ask, sure, Tommy, now I want to ask, where you take this guy? We have a general idea about where all these guys go, but when I see mocks, I see nonsense like have him in the third. He's safety one for me. But the Cowboys ain't got to believe what I believe. But he could go 44. He could go third or something like that. Where does he go? Tommy, please.
So 2 things. One, 30 visits are, just to clarify, it's not always necessarily an indicator of interest, right? It's a lot of guys that there are interest in, but not necessarily. They obviously can't pick all 30 guys. So that's something to remember. But you do bring up a good point because Makuba is an interesting one. My question to the group would be, would you play Makuba at nickel?
Yeah, that's something I wanted to bring up too.
I would really think about it. Yeah.
Because if that's the case, then I think you make a case for him in the second round. I think he's got the cover ability to play nickel.
I think he's a second-round player regardless of where you play him.
Sure.
I don't see any real weakness to his game. People talk about he's 6 foot, he's 186. But I'm watching some tape the other night, and he happens to show up. I'm watching A&M or something. I'm watching somebody, and he just keeps showing up. Then you watch the playoff games. He's showing up. So, to me, me personally, I think you have to take him at 44. If you want this player, you have to. I don't think he gets to you in the third round. I mean, and there's some good safeties on the board, but you look at all the things that he can do, and we all know that.
Yeah.
You talk about if you're talking about playing him at nickel, you're telling me right there you think he can cover. You think that he's one of the best guys when it comes to carrying routes all over the field. If you think that, you got to take this guy at 44.
I agree.
If that's the case.
And I think he's great in coverage, too. When you look at his ability and his strong suits, coverage, change of direction, football IQ, all of that stuff jumps off the page. It's really the size and it's the tackling that I kind of had a little bit of a question mark over. I think the tackling was mostly just missed tackles at times when he was trying to be over-aggressive. PFF had him logged as 13 missed tackles this past year, which that's a significant number, but you're trying to play downhill and you're trying to do too much. I think moving him to nickel will be fine. I think it would be fine. I think he'd be fine as a safety as well.
He's not the longest in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, his wingspan is more so in the negative category. He is an undersized safety, quote unquote. It would make sense. I would like to see the idea of him getting brought up to a nickel position.
Yeah.
I think for tackling concerns, go watch the Michigan tape.
Yeah.
Okay. I saw him against Georgia, Arkansas, where he struggled against Arkansas.
He does miss, but it's because
in terms of
he's
tackling,
flying at you because he wants to take your head off.
Yeah.
And if that's what we got, I'm okay with
You're fine with that?
I'm good with that.
Yeah. You kind of have that in Donovan Wilson already?
You do, but if we're talking about playing McCoy,
you have that covered. Donovan Wilson covered.
He can't cover. I'm saying the downhill.
It's not the same player.
If we're talking about
Donovan Wilson being
Makuba,
Jacksonville or something,
if we're talking about Makuba at nickel, then that's fine.
What's wrong with Jacksonville?
ain't nothing wrong with Jacksonville, just not here. Hell, he can go to Indianapolis wherever he want to go. But I think if Andrew Makuba's on this team, I don't know if I share the idea with the table that he's a possible nickel guy. I don't know if I would like him at full time. I think he'll be a cool sometimes nickel. I like when he's just kind of floating around, just looking for nonsense, and the ball just kind of floats to him. I think that's kind of where he's at his best. Now, sure, if you want to put him in there to kind of, because he's not the biggest guy in the world, you want to put him in nickel to kind of help him out a little bit. I mean, that's cool. But just when he was floating and roaming and just doing all types of different things, that's when I liked him the best. He gets picks down and he gets picks back. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? He's a pick getting guy, so I wouldn't want to just leave him there. To my Donovan Wilson point, look, man, shouts out Donovan Wilson, man. He's got fans. I'm a fan of him also. Yeah. But if there was a glaring wart in his game, it'll be coverage. Yeah. So I would have to wonder. We got a new DC up in here, brand new staff up in here. I wonder if they looked at that and said, hey, and if Andrew Makuba is here, if you had to pick between who's the better safety guy, I think they would probably pick Makuba. But we got dudes on this team that I think cover better. So
I would, real quick, I would argue that playing Makuba at nickel would give him a chance to cover more of the field, I think, than if you put him at safety.
Sure, it could.
And that would be, in terms of taking the ball away and flying all over the place, I think that would be a better spot for him, kind of like how he's sort of lined up there.
Sure.
In that clip.
Yeah,
Sorry, Brian.
no problem. If you're going to draft a nickel, just draft Harrison.
Yeah,
That's the other option.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, if you're going into this with the plan of spending a pick on a nickel in 44, and I understand what you're saying about the safety, and I agree. I mean, I think this kid's a hell of a player. I think, I was asked on Twitter this morning, like the value of the most undervalued player, and I was thinking about him, and I was thinking about my LSU tight end, Mason Taylor.
Yeah.
I was thinking about those two guys. I mean, you don't nearly hear enough about both those guys, and Makuba might be the most undervalued. If you had a Nick, Makuba, say Amos, or Henderson,
Ole Miss
at 44.
Yeah,
I go Henderson.
Is it just because of the absolute need at running back?
No, Henderson's my RB2. I think he's a guy that can play all three downs. He's going to be a captain for you. He's going to play a long time, and he's still relatively low on mileage. I'm a big Henderson guy.
You guys?
I would put.
What did you do at 12?
Yeah, that's a good question.
You took I took the wide receiver out of it.
Okay.
So I gave you Makuba. I gave you Amos, the corner from Ole Miss, and I gave you the running back from Ohio State.
Yeah, I'd take Henderson too.
I'm taking the safety in that situation. I think safety is rare, and I think safeties that get picks can be rare. And I think he has a really good feel to get picks. I think when you find a dude that can get – now, there's a ton of running backs here, and Nick Harris put it on my mind a long time ago. Like, hey, man, some running backs in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th you'll like. And when he said that, we just started watching film, and I'm with him. There's a ton of running backs here. But I think when you have a safety that can really change what defense looks like that, I'm going with the safety. Plus, just on my board, I just got him the highest.
I have Amos as the highest out of those three, but it's not by much. They're all in the same area.
Love them all, though.
Okay, the question now I want to ask you guys then about that running back. Do you think Dallas with no 4 right now is they can't go day 3 to get a running back?
I agree.
They have to have a running back in the first 3 rounds. Now, you say that.
They say that, but last year, dog, they
No. We learned our lesson here.
Yeah.
We learned our lesson here.
Sure.
We have no other comparison. We can't use Rico Dowdle as, he's not as good as Rico Dowdle.
Sure.
That's the thing. To me, I think Dallas has kind of painted themselves in a corner here for running back, and I think they have to do it by the time the 3rd round hits.
You don't think they would try to do that with a guy like Williams or Sanders, the guys that are in the building? If they can do that for Rico Dowdle, they could definitely say that for.
If they do that,
then
man, I can't. The only thing you've improved in the running game here, the only thing you, in my opinion, is the coaches. That's the thing that's helped you in the running game. You don't have a running back here, in my opinion. You don't.
Would they be willing to take the running back earlier than they want to take the running back prior to the run happening, right? And then you can just cross-reference this with the Hampton news going on right now. What if we say, all right, we'll take a running back at 44, but Hampton goes 1st round, Henderson goes 1st round, Johnson goes 1st round. So now we're like, all right, 2nd round. Do we want to take Harvey here? Do we reach for running back, or do we go something else and wait for running back in round 3? Are the Cowboys going to have to?
The only reason I wouldn't consider running back at 44 is if they're all gone.
Sure.
That's the only but to me, if one of those guys, if his guy Henderson's there, Johnson, Hampton, one of those.
What if he's not though? What if he's not though? Then what do they do?
See, that's the problem.
That's where you go Makuba or somebody like that.
Yeah, but see, to me,
Amos.
Yeah, to me, I just, like I said, I think they've painted themselves in a corner, in my opinion, that by the 3rd round, because you and I've had this discussion before about guys that can carry the load, could be the featured guy. Can you get that guy in the 5th round? Do you see, or you see guys? See, I don't think they've set them up to have a back that could split time. If you still had Rico Dowdle here and took a 5th round guy, I kind of feel like you got you're okay there.
The thing about the running back position that I think is fascinating when it comes to this team is you have your 3rd down guy. You have your receiving, you have your pass protecting guy in Javonte Williams.
Yeah.
I think that's comfortable. You just need to get your early down guy. Get your guy that can open up the game for 5-6 yards a carry on those, opening carries of drives and sustain drives and get drives going. There were so many times last year where I think I brought it up on the show. Beginning of the game, hand off to Rico Dowdle, 2 yards. And you stall the drive before it even gets started.
Sure.
I still feel like there are some complementary guys that you could throw in the later rounds. I'm not saying that's my preference. I'm just saying don't be surprised if we get to day 3 and a running back hasn't been picked yet, because I think there could be some guys that are there on day 3. You look at an Ollie
So
Gordon,
you don't
or a
see
Taj
that
Brooks or a Kyle Monungai or a Jarquez Hunter. I mean, these are guys that I think could be early down type guys that would make sense for this team.
I would agree with you if you had a 4th round pick.
Yeah,
For sure.
If they somehow hook or crook a 4 from somebody, or another 3, I'm with you on that.
Mm-hmm.
But if they sit there and wait from the 3rd to all the way to the 5th, watch these running backs come off that board.
Yeah,
We
just
saw
like
it
they did
last year.
Yep, just
yeah,
like
we
they did
saw the
last
same thing last year. People are going to see value, and it's a good group of running backs. Don't get me wrong. I just think that they've kind of painted themselves in a corner. That if they, with the players, and I like what you're saying about Williams. I mean, you're right about the catching and the blocking and stuff like that. But I just want a guy that, maybe I want a guy that could do all. And Henderson is that guy.
Sure.
Yeah.
You give me the opportunity to draft Henderson, then I ain't worried about Williams and Sanders and those other guys so much.
Yep.
While we're kind of on the topic of conversation, and not to derail the running back convo, but we were talking safety, we were talking secondary and 30-round visits. Siobhan Revel Jr., East Carolina. I know there's some injury history there, but give me a little bit of a scouting report on Revel, and because I don't believe we've really dove into what he could bring
Best
from
corner
this
in the draft.
corner position. A lot of people believe that.
Well, depending on if you have Hunter. You know, there's people that have Hunter as
Travis,
a corner,
yeah.
and there's people that have him as a wide receiver. But go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, I think the one thing that's fascinating about Revel is he only has 1 year of starting experience, and he's going to be coming off of this torn ACL as well. So there's going to have to be a little bit of an adjustment period. I mean, coming up from the American Conference into the NFL, and if he were to be drafted to this team, he would need to be stepping into a role immediately to start potentially at week 1. That I think would give me a little bit of concern. But you talk about being physically gifted. He's probably the most physically gifted defensive back in this class.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to give him some versatility at the next level too, whether that be in a man scheme, zone scheme, being able to play inside. I think he has that ability too. But I would place this guy on the outside. He's explosive. He's physical. He can tackle. He plays to his size. He's got ball skills. He can return pick sixes. I mean, if you had a guy like him and a fully healthy Trayvon Diggs and a fully healthy Deron Bland, this would be a turnover machine of a secondary. But the thing that would worry me about Revel for this team is what does that look like from week 1 to week 8 of his rookie season? And granted, you're not drafting a player for the first 8 weeks of his career. You're drafting him for the first 4 years and what that looks like. But, man, you do need help at corner in the first 8 weeks that can provide immediate help. I'm not sure if you can bank on Revel being ready to go to do that. But his ACL surgery was done by Dr. Dan Cooper. He's the team physician here for the Cowboys. The Cowboys have just as much info on this guy and his injury than anybody else. He tore his ACL in October. It's going to be close for him to get fully cleared before training camp. That's what Dr. Cooper did send out in a memo in February to teams, is that he will be ready to go. But they also said that about Jonathan Brooks last year, and he was not ready to go. He didn't make it until halfway through the season. So I think there would be a little bit of holding your breath with this guy. But if he comes back fully healthy and he's ready to go by training camp, I think this would be an awesome pick. I have him at the top of the 3rd because of the injury and because I don't know what that's going to look like 100%, especially at the corner spot. Tearing your ACL as a corner is so tough, and you rarely see guys come back and be 100% off of that. That's the only reason why. If he didn't have this knee injury, I'd probably have a first-round grade on him.
And you're making the jump, like you said, from the American to the NFL. It's not like
Correct,
you're already at the NFL and already established.
With only 1 year of starting experience.
Yeah. So there's a lot of question mark there. Where do you see him?
This would be fantastic if the Cowboys can find a way to work a little bit of voodoo magic and just get him in the second round somewhere.
Get him at 44.
I just want everybody to panic about that knee and just let him fall. And if you can get him at 44, then cool. And he got all the things that Cowboys love in their corners. He's tall, long, can run,
100%.
tackling, all this kind of stuff. And, there's this one thing going around, the competition that he played against. That's cool, man. Watch Michigan. Michigan. And he looked just as good as Michigan as he did versus App State twice.
Well, in the UTSA tape, there were 2 guys drafted out of that UTSA team in 23. I mean, there's guys there that he's played against.
Yeah, he could play. He's cornerback 3 for me behind Hunter and Barron.
Tommy.
I think these 2 guys nailed it. Especially with the fact that Dallas and specifically Matt Eberflus, you look at the corners that he's had in the past. You think about Jalen Johnson, Tyreek Stevenson in Chicago. He likes those bigger, longer-armed corners who can take the ball away. And Dallas, when it's been at his best, when Dan Quinn was here with Deron Bland and Trayvon Diggs fully healthy, they take the ball away. And Savon Revel can do that for you when he's fully healthy. I think that I share the concern with Nick of Okay, can you come back and be what you were after an ACL tear, especially when you are going to be borderline able to participate in training camp, according to Dr. Cooper, and you're going to be expected to be thrust kind of into the fire here with this cornerback room? Because then the question Dallas has to ask themselves is, okay, if you want to give Revel a runway, does that mean that you trust Kaiir Elam enough to start week 1 for you opposite of Deron Bland?
Yeesh.
And if you do, then there's your answer. But that's the big question that looms there, and I don't know if I would. I think I would want to start Revel over him, but do you have the option? That's the question. I like the player a lot, and I think that if he's able to come back fully healthy and the medicals check out, which, like Nick mentioned, the Cowboys are going to have a better inside track on that than anybody else, then I wouldn't mind the pick at 44 at all.
Brian, you said he's the best corner in the draft?
I think he is, if you don't include Hunter over there, but I have Hunter at wide receiver. So I think this guy, and I understand what Nick's talking about there, and you know, but my first round corners, they've all got questions, but every one of them are damn good football players. Ravel, Barron, Morrison, they're all really, really good players. And you know, and I know they're talking about with, you know, we've kind of gone back and forth about the whole Will Johnson thing, you know, from Michigan and stuff like that. And you know, if it all checks out, we'll see. But you know, and that's my only problem really with Johnson, is that I've got 3 corners above him, but those corners all have some questions about him. But I know one thing: all 3 of those guys, when you watch their tape, they make plays, and that's something that a lot of cornerbacks in this league don't do. But those kids, I think you could plug those kids in, and they'll go make plays for you.
Yeah. Couple of question marks around those 30-visit guys. We'll continue to give you some scouting reports as those names trickle in over the next couple of weeks. When we come back here on the Draft Show, it's time for some Twitter on 20. Who's the most underrated player in this NFL draft? I want each of our panelists to answer that question right after this with more of the Draft Show.
Life is a workout, and Smoothie King is here to help you power through. Whether you're maxing out overhead presses, pushing through chest flies, or being the hero your golden retriever needs to carry them over that scary bridge, Smoothie King has the fuel to help you go all out. Build muscle and boost your recovery with 45 grams of protein, 0 grams of added sugar, and delicious customizable ingredients in the Gladiator Smoothie. Available in chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla. Only at Smoothie King.
Hi, Drew Pearson, former Dallas Cowboy and now Pro Football Hall of Famer here. If you're struggling with your vision and tired of those contacts and glasses, don't throw a Hail Mary. Go where I went. Laser Care Eye Center, the official LASIK partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Drew, thank you so much for trusting us with your vision correction procedure. At Laser Care Eye Center, we offer 6 different vision correction procedures to help patients see.
Check them out at dfweyes.com. Tell them Drew sent you. Hood, hood.
I'm Dak Prescott, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys.
And they snap it to Prescott, who looks right. It's not there. He escapes left. He'll run for a first down.
Just like football, when it comes to crypto, it's important to have a team you can trust. With blockchain.com, I know I'm in good hands. Since 2011, they've been trusted by millions around the world to buy, sell, and trade cryptocurrency.
Prescott's going to run this himself. Run it up the middle, and he scores.
Whether you're new to crypto or an active trader, they've got you covered. What are you waiting for? Get started at blockchain.com.
Cowboys fans, when it comes to navigating the ever-changing world of tax, your business needs a partner it can trust to tackle even your biggest tax challenges. Ryan is the largest firm in the world dedicated exclusively to business taxes. Our team of tax professionals has local expertise in all areas of tax and can help you uncover savings opportunities you didn't know you had. Learn more about how Ryan can improve your overall corporate tax performance by visiting Ryan.com. Ryan, the official tax partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Back here on the Draft Show, the 60th Academy of Country Music Awards are returning to Ford Center at the Star in Frisco on May 8th. Enjoy live performances from Lainey Wilson, Blake Shelton, Eric Church, and more. Don't miss this celebration, 6 decades in the making, all hosted by entertainment icon Reba McEntire. Tickets are available now at SeatGeek.com.
Reba.
Pretty cool event.
What's she saying?
but there's a lot.
I just know she was on that show when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, she had like a TV
She had her own show.
Yeah, she did.
Oh, she's big time.
My grandmother was obsessed.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Pretty much anybody down here is yeah.
That's the one.
They're
That's the
into
one,
it.
Jazz.
I went
That
to
was
high
jazz.
school with her niece.
With Reba's niece?
Uh-huh.
Interesting. She's from Oklahoma.
Big
Where
flex.
was that? Where you?
Ridgeland High School niece.
Okay, good for you. Nice flex.
Great.
So if we need Reba to come over on the draft show, you're the one we're hitting up?
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
why not?
Love
Why
it.
would we need that?
I don't
That and Chuck Norris was at my high school graduation.
Dude, stop bragging, okay? We don't need a name drop here on this show.
Just saying.
All right, let's get into some
Twitter on the 20.
Let's go, Jazz. That was pretty good. Tom wants to know, who do you think is the most underrated player in this 2025 NFL draft class?
Don't come to me first. 'cause
RJ
Looking
Harvey.
right at you.
RJ Harvey,
Wow.
running back UCF, man.
Yeah.
The reason I put him here, I've been talking about him for a while, man.
Okay.
He is a running back that's in this group of backs. Just for me on my board, we always talk about Genty, Hampton, Johnson, Henderson. I think you could take him in round 2 and get you a bell cow type guy. Big play, runs hard, catches the ball well. You got to work on that blocking, man. But that's a common thing about a lot of these running backs in this damn class. But balance, vision. RJ Harvey's the last guy in round 2, running back wise, that I would look at and say I would give that. Give him the ball 22 times and feel decent about it. But the reason why I feel like he's the underrated guy, because I don't think people talk about Harvey like that. I don't think they talk about him in a round 2 type fashion. I think
Way he
more,
breaks tackles and stuff like that.
he-
Then he gets none of credit for that.
he whoops ass, Brian Broaddus. And honestly, I think people got 3rd round grades on him just by nature of what running back is and what this running back class is. But if you take RJ Harvey in about 5 years, you're going to look at him like, man, why weren't we talking about RJ Harvey?
The thing about him in 5 years, he's going to be 30 years old in 5 years.
Perfect.
And I think that's the one concern. But I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm a big RJ Harvey guy. I think that's just probably where the concern stems from, is that he's already had an ACL tear and that he's going to be close to 25 when his rookie season starts.
Then let's not give him that second contract like some of these teams tend to do. That's perfect.
Well, and that's why people would have him in the 3rd, if that's the case, right?
Then that means that
You're going to take a 1st or a 2nd round player. I know he's a damn good player, but
that sounds like something Mike Mayock would say. Teams suck at drafting, and if he's a dude and if he's on the board there,
I'm with
he may be 25. I get it. But running backs, we typically don't want to hold on to them very long anyway. So just,
get a playmaker and run with it.
take them and just celebrate. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But the Cowboys taking Hampton at 12, so there's no need to worry about that. So.
That's fair.
I didn't know we had Mel on the show.
What's up, Tommy?
That should bother you, by the way.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
No, it should bother you in the fact that Mel Kiper's usually right about this thing. If you're against taking a running back at 12, other than Genty, you should worry about Mel Kiper because he has not wavered from this in his last, I believe, three mock drafts.
Yeah.
And he hasn't. He's not alone now. He was alone initially. Now he's not alone. There's a couple other guys on that train too. Who's your most underrated, Tommy?
Oluwafemi Oladejo, UCLA linebacker, edge, hybrid. This was a guy that Nick, Kyle, and I had the chance to talk to at the Senior Bowl, and he's really only scratching the surface, I think, of what he can do. He kind of started off playing linebacker in UCLA, moved him to the edge, and he had a pretty solid season. You can look at me and say, Tommy, he only had 4.5 sacks. That's fine. He's built like a demigod, and he's going to only grow from here when he gets to the NFL and gets more polished. You got to love what he's able to do one-on-one. He looked great at the Senior Bowl in one-on-one reps. Just so twitchy. You look at that move that he just made there on the screen. And there's a lot to like with what he can do. He had 14 tackles for loss last year, 57 total tackles. This is a versatile guy that you can play in a lot of different spots in your defense, and you've got so much room to grow with him that I think you can really take a chance on this guy early, develop him, and he can be a staple of somebody's defense going forward.
Tommy, let me ask you a question, sir. And I'm only saying this to you because you just picked him. I'm not making you a part of this fight. I just want to know what you think. What's the difference between? No. I'm not fighting Tommy. I'm fighting the world. What's the difference between him and Mykel Williams? Because it sounds like you just described Mykel Williams. Fantastic rundown dude, got some room to grow, good size athlete, boy, all this XYZ, boy. Probably got a little room to develop as a pass rush, but boy, once he learned, boy, he going to be ready to go. What's the difference, Tommy?
I think Oladejo has only just started playing edge because they only just moved him to edge, whereas Williams has been there, if I'm not mistaken, his whole career. I think Williams has the edge as a run defender right now, and I think his build is better suited for it, but I think that Oladejo just has so much more room to grow at that spot where they tried him at linebacker so much, and it just didn't work. So Williams, I think he's got the run defense part of it down, and I think his next step is getting after the quarterback, which I think he's further along in the process in. So you can look at Oladejo and say, okay, maybe we need some more time to get this guy up to speed. But I think that overall, I think he's Oladejo's twitchier, and I think that's going to benefit him long term.
He's a little bigger too.
This ain't me fighting you.
Or no, Michael Williams is a little bigger.
I think I touched on that. Sorry if I did.
Kyle, I'm sorry. Tommy, this ain't me fighting you.
That's
I'm
fine.
fighting the world.
We can.
I think I'm not fighting you. This ain't me fighting you. I think Oladejo is a much better run guy right now. I think he has a much better feel for. Michael's bigger, but he has a much better feel for run down stuff. And then like Michael's probably gonna do B gap things sometimes, and Oladejo won't. I think Oladejo is a much better pass rusher right now. I think he projects to be a much better pass rusher right now. That's why I got Michael in the third. That's why I got Oladejo ranked over him. I'm not fighting you, but I've been fighting people on the internet for the past couple of weeks, and your breakdown was perfect. It was perfect. It was exactly how I would break
it down. The compliment sandwich. Get ready. He's about
to destroy you in a second.
I'm about to get the...
I'm not fighting Tom. But I was like, man, that show sound like Michael Williams, this damn third-round player that we described. That show sound like Michael Williams. I just wanted to just hear you describe it, Tommy. This ain't me fighting.
That's fine. That's fine. The part of the show is having disagreeing talking about, so I'm all for it.
I'm just saying.
That's fine.
I agree with you, if anything.
But
Oladejo's a dude.
I could say...
He's actually thanking you for presenting the way you did.
Well, I think you could say, if we're having the argument of...
Camera on time.
Okay. They've gotten you a couple times with that in the last couple weeks, right? The last one was much funnier.
Yeah.
But no, I think you could say, okay, they're kind of in the same situation of you're kind of banking on, okay, what is the ceiling, right?
Yeah.
We've had the conversation in the past of floor guys and ceiling guys.
Sure.
I think Williams' floor is a lot higher than Oladejo's right now because of what he gives you with his size and what he's able to produce thus far. I think Oladejo is not as far along as a pass rusher than what Williams is. That's not to say that Williams is borderline an elite pass rusher. I just think he's further along since Oladejo is still kind of grasping the edge position. And I think that Oladejo is still behind a little bit too in the run support, but I think that his experience as a linebacker is what can give him more room to grow in that department against Williams. I hope that all makes sense.
So now we disagree, because I think Michael run down the middle of people, and I think Oladejo bendy as hell, but it's all good. Go ahead.
It is a little bit different. You're saying that the ceiling is similar for both, but the floor is much higher for Williams.
No. I think Michael Williams' ceiling is higher.
Okay.
That's not to say Oladejo's ceiling isn't high, but I think Williams' size and what he's already established and where he is in his progression is further along, and I think that he has the higher ceiling.
Okay.
Y'all are gonna hate me, but I couldn't just pick one guy. I'm gonna start with Caleb Rogers, offensive lineman out of Texas Tech. This is a guy that I think is versatile. I think he can play 4 of the 5 offensive line spots. He's a unit. He's played 4,200 career snaps at Texas Tech. He's got a violent punch. I like his feet. I think he could clean up his feet work, but I like where his feet are coming from. Sometimes he can like overcommit on athletic edge rushers and give them a little bit too much breathing room. But I still think this is a guy that is going to be a offensive lineman in this league for a long time. Senior Bowl guy. I know a lot of people up at Texas Tech, and they just rave about this guy's character as well. You see him playing left guard in this cut up. You see him playing right tackle, left tackle, right guard. I mean, he's a guy that can come in and play pretty much any spot. This is a day 2 type talent for me. Really impressive guy. And the second guy I have to give. Did y'all know Austin Eckler is in this running back class?
What?
Who would
that
that
was
be?
Like 35.
Please don't tell me you're about to say Trevor Etienne.
No. It's Lan Larison out of UC Davis. This guy had 2,400 yards last year in 24, combined between rushing and receiving.
It's a lot of yards.
This is a guy that could be a 3-down back. Early down physicality. He can get into the second level, and he's got a crazy receiving ability. You talk about, this is a guy you could line up in the slot at times in the game, too. He had 62 receptions in 2024. He could be deployed out wide. I would like to see a little bit more wiggle and twitch, but what he brings in the pass catching department, the route tree that he has coming out of the backfield, this is a major sleeper in this class. I think at the running back position, this is the guy that is not being talked about enough. 6 foot, 215, can run a 4.45. He's going to have a jump in competition from the Big West, but so did Austin Eckler, and that's the spirit of the conversation.
What's his name?
So he's got great pass protection. Lan Larison, Lan, first name, last name Larison. I have a 4th round grade on this guy.
Okay,
Nick, 500 people because because me and Brown are like 210, and you keep bringing up people I've never even heard of before,
go watch
sir.
this guy and come back to me, or throw us in the group chat if y'all don't want to bring him up.
Can
on the
you
show
tell me?
again.
Can you tell me who the players you have around him in the 4th round?
I have him
with the
above,
running backs.
Yeah, I have him above Jarquez Hunter, Taj Brooks.
Wow.
I have him right behind Ollie Gordon. I have him above Jaden Blue. I have him above Trevor Etienne. I have him above Rashard Smith, LaQuint Allen.
What's the school?
UC Davis.
Oh, that's
UC
why I never
Davis.
heard of him.
Yeah, he's
Big
so
West is the Big West is bad.
He
It's
is
bad football.
so
But
under
they are
the
a really
radar.
good team. They are a really good team. They're top 10, top 15 in the country last year, and he had 1,500 rushing yards and 800 receiving.
What's his measurables?
6'2", 15, ran a 4.45 at the combine. This is one of the most athletic guys in this class, in my opinion. This is going to be a guy we're going to still be talking about 2-3 years from now.
Wow.
See, Nick watches 7th round players first, and then he works up.
Honestly, I just find
that's got to be it.
He hasn't watched Gentry
Did you
yet.
do this because of his combine stuff?
No. I actually watched this guy back in February. I brought him up early on one of the early shows. The reason I watch this guy is because sometimes I get bored watching film, and I'm like, let me go find a guy that has like crazy stats and see if there's like any NFL traits to back it. And I saw him, and I was like, oh yeah, he's got NFL traits to back it. And then he went to the combine, and he had an awesome week at the combine. I love this guy.
Shouts out to you, Nick. You
this
work
is a guy
hard.
that's going to be a sleeper on day 3.
I've got 514 prospects in this magazine, and he wasn't even on one.
That's what I'm saying.
Now you got 515.
I've got to get a 515. We're going to send out a revised, edited edition. We're going to get him in there. That's under the radar. Good call.
Yeah, it's very under the radar.
All right, what you got, Brian?
Yeah, I answered the question with Mason Taylor at tight end. I don't think he's getting enough recognition, but I think I mentioned the name Trevor Etienne from Georgia, and I mentioned this is because of he's not the biggest guy at 5'9" and 198, but he's super elusive in the vision and the sharp cuts, the instant acceleration. He does a really nice job of catching the football well. He's got very natural hands. He plays well with the ball in his hands. I think that he could take like good gains and make them into great gains with the way he runs the football. But he makes good decisions. He's physical. He hasn't had a bunch of carries during his career, but he's made up with what he's had. And I think he's good on the blitz pickup stuff. But like I say, don't let the lack of height throw you off here. He really does do a good job in that area. And I respect how he's able to make defenders miss and bounce around until he finds daylight. And he can be a weapon out of the backfield. So Trevor Etienne from Georgia, a transfer from Florida, is one of my guys. I don't think it's getting enough credit.
You want to see his
vision.
You want to see his best tape? Go watch him play Texas both times. He torched Texas, and Texas is one of the better run defenses in college football this past year.
Yeah. Good player, had great production throughout his time at Georgia too.
Yeah.
Lots of good to talk about there.
Real quick, just because I'm seeing some discussion in the comments, and maybe I was confusing it. If I was, I apologize. To the Williams-Oladejo debate, I think Williams has a higher floor and ceiling. Just to clarify.
Yeah.
I don't know if I made that clear. But
No,
just
you said
just to
that.
make sure.
Yeah.
You're just saying he's a better player.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I'll throw a name in
But
here.
I still think Oladejo's dang good.
They say I'm lying. They say I'm wrong. Go ahead, Kyle.
They don't like you in the comments.
No, I see why you're saying it.
Maybe I.
Johnny Walker Jr., edge out of Missouri, did not give. Oh wait, no, this is a prospect.
I thought it was.
Yeah,
Twitter
you thought it was a Twitter on the 20. It's a prospect. Johnny Walker Jr., one, because he's got a great name for the Cowboys specifically to be a possible draft pick. But he was a Shrine Bowl guy who had a ton of production at the Shrine Bowl, had 8.5 sacks, including 9.5 sacks in 2024 with Missouri, including 8.5 over his final 7 games. He finished with 12.5 tackles for loss, yet he did not get an invite to the scouting combine. He was left off the list. I liked his tape. I thought he was a vertical edge rusher or versatile edge rusher that can stand up or put a hand in the ground. He can do a little bit of both. He's got good first step quickness, packs a punch upon first contact, upper body strength to get blockers off balance initially. Only thing that I kind of knocked was he doesn't have a ton of pass rush moves to kind of go with, kind of straightforward pass rusher. And then at the same time, he's a little bit smaller. He's a bit of a tweener. 246 pounds is what he ranked at the Shrine Bowl. So I think he's a good player off the edge. I think I would take him probably early day 3, but some people don't even have them on a board because I don't.
Who do you have around on your board?
Let me get to my edge rushers. I have him around some of these other guys like Savion Jones from LSU, Q Robinson from Alabama, Barron Sorrell, Texas, Jordan Birch, Oregon, guys like that are kind of right around that same spot.
So it's fourth round for you then?
Fifth. Probably,
fifth round. Okay.
Fifth round. If he sneaks up into the fourth, it's because of the production.
Okay,
that's what it is. And he had a great Shrine Bowl. I thought he ended up having 2 sacks, multi-sack performance against Alabama and Iowa. Had 2 sacks in the Shrine Bowl at AT&T Stadium. I was intrigued why he didn't get an invite to Indy. I was wondering why that was the case. I didn't know if there was an off-the-field thing. I didn't find anything. So
I think that may have benefited him because I worry about his length a little bit. That's why you see him on stand-up rushes a lot on these clips.
Yep.
He's going to have to go to a scheme that can really, hide that deficiency from him.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about like a pass rush heavy scheme that sends 5 rushers. I mean, he would have to be on the field with a 5 rush set, in my opinion. But I still think he's.
You stand him up and put his hand down. You stand him up.
Yeah, that's where he would have to go to a scheme that can work with him in that sense. I would stand him up just because that's what he's got experience doing. But there's not a lot of teams in the NFL that do that still. So
just kind of wrong time kind of guy.
Not necessarily. I think there's a role for this guy. He just has to land in the right system.
Yeah.
I do think there's a role for this guy. He's got to land in the right system.
If you have production like
I think that system could be here.
In the SEC, I think you can have some success anywhere.
Yeah.
The way that he dominated at the end of the year in the SEC schedule. All right, let's try and fit in one more Twitter on the 20 question. We've only gotten to one so far.
We got 2 in there. Yeah,
got 2.
What was the second one?
Oh, that was one.
That was all one question. This one's kind of fun, Brian. I mentioned this before the break, before we came back. AC wants to know what a pin throw is. Let's define this.
For me, a pin throw is when you fake like you're mad when a guy got pecked, but you're really happy inside. So you have to show the room that you're like, oh, damn, I can't believe we lost that guy. But inside, you're kind of like excited that it happened. That he's gone.
So you're saying a fake pin throw because he said that you and I have different definitions, and I think
that's my definition of a pin throw. I'm like, oh, damn.
See, I would call that.
But in real life, I'm kind of happy because we didn't take the guy.
See, I would call that like a fake pin throw. Whereas a pin throw is where you actually are upset.
No, my pin throw is when I throw my pin, it's usually because I'm happy the guy's gone.
So there you go.
So does that mean your fake pin throw is
a real pin throw?
Isn't actually
Whatever happens when Will Johnson.
No, if I drop like an F-bomb, then you know that we lost a guy that I liked. Yeah.
You hit the table.
Yeah.
Whatever a pin throw is for Brian, it's when Will Johnson and Mykel Williams get drafted.
Well, if they go before.
Right.
If they get picked before, then I'll just go, I can't believe that happened.
Pin throw.
Darn.
Okay, good to know. Now that we've cleared that up.
He's going to throw 12 pins if Michael Williams goes.
If he goes to Dallas?
Yeah, you're going to have to go buy a pack and then throw it.
If Michael gets to Dallas, I'm just going to lean back in my chair and huff and puff and act like, I'll tell you why he'll fit perfectly up in here. But if he goes to Carolina or something, give me a pin to throw.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy.
I like Michael, man. He just not at 12.
We're going to get in a heap of trouble if Mykel Williams ends up being the pick.
If it's Mykel Williams, Will Johnson, or James Pierce, we're going to have a lot of discussing to do at this table. Let me tell you.
And this is the clip they're going to take. And it's going to be Nick talking about it. And then it's going to cut to me kind of smiling half-heartedly at the camera. All right. When we come back here on the Draft Show, we've got we talked about the 30 visit guys a little bit. I want to hit another name out of the 30 visits. And then I also want to hit perfect fit. That was a question mark around who could be a perfect fit for the Dallas Cowboys, but I don't want to do first-round guys. I want to talk about guys later on in the draft who you feel like can be that fit for Dallas. Right after this with more of the Draft Show.
I'm Darren Woodson, former Dallas Cowboy player and Super Bowl champion. When I played in the NFL at a high level, I relied on my vision to see the field. As I started getting older, I noticed my vision wasn't as good, and I was getting frustrated from wearing my glasses all day. I went to Laser Care Eye Center and Dr. G talked about all the options. Thanks to technology and Laser Care Eye Center, I can see near, far, and between. Don't fumble your vision any longer. Visit them at dfweyes.com and tell them Darren sent you. They got me back on my game.
Star Sports Tours is the only official fan travel partner of the Dallas Cowboys, offering exclusive game weekend travel packages with pre-game sideline access and photo ops with current players, cheerleaders, and Cowboy legends. You want to stay at a team hotel, attend the best tailgate party in Texas, tour the Star, and talk X's and O's with me, Everson Walls? With Star Sports Tours, you can. Visit cowboystravel.com to book your travel package today.
Life is a workout, and Smoothie King is here to help you power through. Whether you're maxing out overhead presses, pushing through chest flies, or being the hero your golden retriever needs to carry them over that scary bridge, Smoothie King has the fuel to help you go all out. Build muscle and boost your recovery with 45 grams of protein, 0 grams of added sugar, and delicious customizable ingredients in the Gladiator Smoothie. Available in chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla. Only at Smoothie King.
How about them Cowboys? Or how about them Tyson Cowboys Nuggets? As we cheer for the stars on the field, we love that we've also got some stars on our plate, thanks to Tyson brand star-shaped Cowboys Nuggets. That, along with all our other favorite Tyson Foods products, sure make game day special. Score some delicious Tyson Cowboys Nuggets and become a game day star, just like our Cowboys. As you enjoy your stars on and off the plate, remember, tailgates and game day have always been Tyson.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Cowboys fans, get ready for draft weekend presented by Miller Lite at the Star in Frisco. The action kicks off Thursday, April 24th with the ultimate draft party, and it continues Friday with draft hangout and wraps up Saturday with the draft day 5K presented by Baylor Scott and White Health. 3 days of football fun and fan experiences you won't want to miss. Visit DallasCowboys.com/draft for details. Of course, the draft magazine is out now, the Dallas Cowboys Star Magazine Draft Guide. I've actually got some fun additions here. I'm going to go, we're going to give away some draft magazines that are signed by the Draft Show crew. So watch out for that tweet. You'll get an opportunity to win some of these Draft Show signed magazines. Everybody's on there. Got the five of us here, and then we'll have Bobby sign it here and Zach Wolchuk sign it on Thursday whenever they come in for the show later in the week. All right. Talked about perfect fit. What are you gonna try and continue Twitter on the 20 here?
No, Kyle. I just got one thing. No.
What do you want? I just felt like a hand on my back, and I was like, "Here we go."
It's like, hey, brother.
It's like, wait a second. I didn't even turn around.
The segment real quick.
You remember that thing I sent in the rundown?
Me and Nick Harris said something very important on the break, and I just wanted to make sure everybody heard it. Right? I don't hate hate is a strong word. I may only hate 2 or 3 players, right? It just I may hate
sports
where
hate.
you're drafted. You know,
sports hate.
Like for example, Sean Oakman, I didn't think was very good at all.
Yeah,
right. I'm like, man, I don't want to draft Sean Oakman at all. You know what I'm saying? I would draft Mykel Williams. We just disagree where. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want anybody to go around and say, "Oh man, Voch hate Mykel Williams." When you go out and do something good in preseason, get a little tackle or something, I would love to have him, just not as high as the Cowboys are at drafting. My bad, Kyle. Go ahead.
Do you have anything to add before you move on? Okay.
No, they hate when I do that, Kyle, but they'll be all right, man. I ain't coming back next year. I'm getting fired. Go ahead.
I love the fact that he's in this back chair and he just put his hand on my back.
I can reach you.
Hold on. Yeah, exactly.
You feel my energy.
Yeah. All right. Charles Davis and a couple of the NFL network analysts put out a Cowboys perfect fit. There were a couple different elements of this, but it's from NFL.com. And his perfect fit for the Cowboys was later on in the draft. He brought up Kyle Monangai, the running back out of Rutgers. Kind of an interesting out of left field sort of player. We've talked about him on the show. I think we're all kind of fans of him, where he would end up being selected probably early day 3 or right around there. But at the same time, it kind of stokes the question of what other positions in this draft are there a perfect fit, quote unquote, with the Cowboys. And you can't do anything in the first round because people could say Genty or people could say Teteroa McMillan or whatever it may be. Right. Outside of the first round, where's your perfect fit for the Cowboys?
Yeah, first I do want to start just with a brief scouting report on Monangai. I mean, this is one of the, Tommy can attest, this is one of the running backs I enjoyed watching during the season.
Look at that smile.
More than any last year. I love Kyle Monangai. Yeah. I do have a couple of concerns. Well, I'll start with the strengths. He's a downhill guy. He can get out and have outside zone running success too. He's got receiving ability. I think he's probably the second or third best pass protector in this class, in my opinion. I got Travion Henderson up there. I also have Dylan Sampson up there as well. But he lacks speed to be like that explosive type weapon in the NFL, and that kind of proved itself at the combine. 0 fumbles and 669 carries. There's a positive and there's a negative in that. The positive is that there was 0 fumbles. The negative is that there's 669 carries. Yeah, he was a starter for 3.5 years at Rutgers, but I mean, this guy's a dog, and I don't know how long he'll last in the league. I don't know if he ends up finding a starting role in the league, but regardless, we're gonna have fun watching watching it. I understand where Charles Davis is coming from, because this is a guy who could be an early down type guy, and kind of give you those hard-earned yards because he falls forward. He's got contact balance. He's got these big, thick thighs that fight forward for extra yardage. So I understand where Charles Davis is coming from. I personally, when I was looking at all of these backs and okay, who is the best complement to Javonte Williams specifically, I had put down Caleb Johnson and I had put down Bashel Tutton out of Virginia Tech. Both of those guys I feel like can be those early down home run speed type guys. I personally like Tutton a little bit more as a fit, just because he does have that athleticism, and you need that home run hitter on this offense. But if we're going for another position, Maxwell Harrison, I've claimed it so many times out of Kentucky at corner, because I think he can play nickel. I think he can play outside. He's got the speed to be able to kind of elevate the athleticism in that secondary room. I think he's a guy you bring in, and he's going to be a day one starter, and he can start for you in multiple spots. He can give you time for Trayvon Diggs to get healthy. I really like Maxwell Harrison as probably the best fit in this class for this team.
No, it's a good one. Can somebody tell me a little bit about Tutton? I don't think we've talked about him on the show.
I don't mind. I just don't want to take anybody's.
Well,
I don't mind.
Go ahead, Vach.
Y'all got it. Go ahead.
Big speed, and watching combine first and then watching him kind of made you go into it, like, all right, you better be fast.
Yeah.
And he is fast. He does kind of break away from those runs, but I was very impressed to see how heavy he ran, like the sense of gravity that he ran. He's not like a slashy type dude just because he's fast. Like, he does finish runs. And I was like, all right, cool, bet. I think if they threw the ball to him more, he'll catch more passes. So, I mean, maybe in the league.
Scheme hurts him there. Yeah.
The only wart was he fumbling the ball, man. Fumbling the ball, putting it on the ground. 8 of them.
8 of them in 2 years.
8 fumbles in 2 years, man. That's tough. But I think that's because he's trying to run so tough. He's trying to whoop ass so bad that he just ends up fumbling the ball. But what is coaching for, man? Please, just tap him on the shoulder, like, hey, keep that run thing that you're doing, that hard running that you're doing, and just 2 hands, man. Put the ball on it. But Bayshaw's is a dude, man. I was thinking 5th round maybe, but he may be a 3rd round type guy.
Sure.
By the time we end up, the Cowboys end up looking at him maybe in the 3rd round. I don't know. We'll see. But Bayshaw's is a dude, and I like him a lot.
I have him in the 3rd, RB7 for me. Played 2 seasons at North Carolina A&T, so he's already experienced that jump in competition, which I think is, in this specific era, in the NIL era, you're starting to see these guys that already have that experience of the jump and leap in competition, and I think that helps their NFL progression and their NFL transition a lot more. And Tutton, I think, is going to be a perfect example of that. I think he's going to step into an offense and provide that home run speed, provide that physicality on early downs as soon as his rookie year. The only thing I worry about from a longevity standpoint is will his body hold up? He is 5'8.5", right around 205 pounds. I mean, he's a load. He's a bowling ball. But that's the only thing that I worry about. He battled an ankle sprain last season, but he didn't miss any games. So there's no injury history. But I just kind of worry about the body a little bit.
54% of his runs were considered breakaway runs.
Love that.
This kid can separate. And another thing you need to know about him is half the games this season, he had 75 yards after contact. Those are a couple of metric things you might need to know about this kid. He's a heck of a player. Really is.
If you want any film nerds out there, go watch the Boston College tape from this guy last year.
Yeah.
You want to have some fun? Let's go do that.
Also, it's Bashel Tutton.
Tootin. Bashel Tootin.
Tootin is how you say his last name.
Darn Tootin, right.
Toot. Yep. I mean, do you have anything to add on there,
You can
Tom?
take that headline, by the way.
No. In terms of best fit,
yeah.
Give me Trey Harris from Ole Miss. I think that there's been so much talk about Tet McMillan at 12 in the 1st round for the Cowboys. Well, guys, what if Tet McMillan is off the board at 12,
or they don't like him,
or they pass on him, and they're saying, okay, we need another position here in the 1st round. We can wait till the 2nd or the 3rd to get a wide receiver. I think you look at, in terms of just the X go up and get it guys in this class. I think Trey Harris is the 2nd best guy in the class behind McMillan. Incredible 50-50 ball. He's 6'3", 210 pounds, I believe. I'm sorry, 6'2", 205 pounds, 31 7/8 arms, 9 5/8 hands. You could say, oh, he runs a 4.5, 4.40. Well, you're not asking this guy to necessarily be a speed guy. You just want him to get open and to go up over a guy and get a 50-50 ball. And I think he can do that for you. You've got CeeDee Lamb, who can be the yak guy for you and burn guys down the field. And you've got Kevontae Turpin, who looks like he'll get used more in a wide receiver role this year. Don't know how well, but if that's if you want speed, there you go.
I feel like I've been hearing that for 3 years.
Yeah, right. I feel like he he adjusts really well midair. Strong hands to bring the ball in. He's got good burst off the line of scrimmage. So like I said, not the best top end speed guy. He's got long strides though. He gets the job done. And then one of the other things that I like about him that doesn't get talked a lot, he blocks really well outside for runners. So if you get a guy like Travion Henderson, who I think is another good fit for the Cowboys, you can get him outside blocking for him so that he can hit those home run plays.
Yeah, I'm going to go into this guy might be a late third, but if you can grab the extra fourth, or not the extra, but get a fourth back. Teddy Buchanan from Cal, linebacker.
Okay.
Fun.
6'2", 233. And he's speaking of Cal Davis.
Stick in the bag, Brian.
There we go. I tried to outdo you on this one. The size, he's got great size for the position. Like I say, 6'2", 233. He's got some pop to his game, and when he's taking on ball carriers, they stop in his tracks. This guy's a physical player. Surprise uses a blitzer. He can close on the ball. There's a couple of snaps where he was able to run down Cam Ward and force poor passes if you watch the Miami game this year. He's a twitchy player, and I really like that about him. He plays light on his feet, lateral ability, covers some ground quickly. He's one of those guys that is a really good finisher. He makes big-time impacts on ball carriers, some range to his play. He could track a ball. He had a 40-inch vertical jump at the combine, and you can see some of that explosiveness in this game. So if you guys are hunting a linebacker right there, Teddy Buchanan from Cal would be a guy that probably is going to be a third-round guy. If you could grab that extra 4, maybe that's a guy you consider on day 3.
Awesome hair, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely does have some great hair. Did you have one?
I was just up here kicking it with y'all since I talked about 2, but I'll add one to it.
Yeah.
Carson Schwessinger.
Oh, that was mine.
UCLA? My
yeah,
bad,
that was going to be mine. Go for it.
I was sitting back daydreaming today, thinking about him and Overshown today.
Mm-hmm.
Go on my Twitter. I talked about it. But just watching that dude do all the things that I like from linebackers, because I normally think that linebackers are either super athletic, but they don't process really well, or they process their ass off, but they not fast. Oh, Carson does it all, man. So as a sideline-to-sideline guy, covering guy backwards, downhill tackler, blitzing sometimes, get some sacks and all that.
Yeah, 4 sacks in 2024.
Sure. I'm like, man, give me him. Give me him. Perfect fit. Next to Overshown, let him do Mike things, because the one thing that we was kind of worried about was his size, but him weighing in at like 240.
242.
242. Perfect. Here, sir. So Carson Schwessinger, man, watching versus Iowa, just read and just get it, snap of his fingers. Like, I'm 32 years old, you know what I'm saying? So I saw Sean Lee for real, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I saw him with my eyes, and I missed that super diagnosis. Not just the instinct dude that'll kind of flow his way into a play, but I've been watching film. I know what you going to run prior to you running it, and at the snap of my finger, I'm there. I want that back in Dallas so bad. So Carson Schwessinger is a fantastic fit for me.
You look good for 32, Vach.
Hey, appreciate you, man.
Dave Borgonzi, linebackers coach for the Cowboys, he was in attendance at the Carson Schwessinger individual pro day, worked him out. So the Cowboys do have context on this guy for sure. This would be second-round option potentially.
Now, Nick Harrison, your opinion, what's more important, sending the coach down there to talk to him, or like this 30 visit, take a picture with Jerry stuff going on, right? Like is that something they want to keep in their back pocket quietly? Oh, yeah, we're going to send a coach down there. We're not going to make a big thing. Like, what do you think is more impactful?
I think it depends.
Yeah.
I think in a situation like this, it would probably be more impactful to have the guy on a 30, because if you have a linebacker, you want to get him to talk to the DC. You'd like to get him to talk to some multiple position coaches, maybe even talk to Jerry and see how he operates against around other players for sure, because he's going to have to be a leader in that defensive room. So I think in this specific case, maybe a 30 visit would be more important. But you look at a guy like Quincy Riley, corner out of Louisville, David Overstreet, the defensive backs coach, was in attendance at his pro day. It's probably more impactful for the position coach to be at his pro day rather than getting him in for a 30. So I think it just kind of depends. It's an either or type of deal.
Can I ask you a real quick question about the 30? Any word about Golden, the wide receiver from Texas, visiting?
No word on Golden. As far as I know, he was not one of the 30s. But that could be different. And I wouldn't put too much context into that, because they trust me.
You got to limit that list.
The Cowboys know about Matthew Golden.
Okay.
Yeah. Trust me.
Yeah. Schwessinger was mine. I think you hit it right on the head. I actually compared him to Demo, because a lot of his college tape remind me of Demo's tape, sideline to sideline, just always around the football. He had 90 solo tackles his senior season. Next closest was on the leaderboard by 14, trailing by 14 points in terms of solo tackles. Finished with 136 tackles, 9 double-digit tackle games, most by a linebacker for UCLA since Eric Kendricks when he was out there. So
I'm going to be a sicko just for a second. I'm sorry,
Go
guys.
for it. Be a sicko.
The Dallas Day was last Friday, and if you're watching the film right here on UCLA versus Hawaii, if you see that Hawaii quarterback, and you're like, hey, he's not bad. He was at Dallas Day this last week. Braden Shager, he's a Highland Park grad, and he's going to be a UDFA type option. Don't be surprised if the Cowboys take a UDFA quarterback. You look at Graham Mertz out of Florida. Quarterbacks coach Steve Shimko was in attendance for his pro day workout. They had a couple of guys in attendance for Dallas Day. Seth Hennigan out of Memphis. He's a Denton Ryan product. And then Braden Shager, a.k.a. Shager Bombs, out of Highland Park. He was in attendance too.
You and I got to cover him a little bit while he was there.
Great kid.
In high school. Good kid. I think he's got a connection with Babe Laufenberg, right?
They both live in Highland Park.
I think they're both around there. Yeah, that's fair. Good point.
Everybody in Highland Park knows each other.
Yeah,
it's like Beaumont. Like everybody in Southeast Texas is related somehow. It's the same thing in Highland Park.
But since you took Schlesinger, I'll just throw out Trey Amos because we've already kind of touched on his scouting report and what we say. I think as a second-round guy, I think he would be a perfect fit from a big corner outside, kind of help you out a little bit with the current corner situation. I would take Amos there at 44 and run with it if that's the case. All right, that does it for us here on the Draft Show. We'll be back on Thursday, as then we're 2 weeks out from the NFL Draft. It is coming up very, very quickly. For Nick Harris, Brian Broaddus, Tommy Yarish, Fox Lombardi with Jasmine Marshall in the back. I'm Kyle Yeoman saying so long. We'll see you next week, see you on Thursday with more of the Draft Show.
Hooty hoo.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!